Hello children, how are you? A very happy morning to one and all. I hope you all safe at home and I hope you all very fine. Last class we saw English prepositions, particularly at, in, on. I'm sure that you understood very well and where it will be used in the sentence. But today we are going to see something interest which is very easy to understand. I hope you all like. See, just answer my question. Have you ever been on a long journey? Have you ever traveled through the forest? See, here is one person, a traveler, traveled through the forest. Suddenly he stopped over there. Why did he stop there? Was he afraid? Let's see elaborately. See, from your textbook, from your 9th standard textbook, first unit, the poem called Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. This poem was written by Robert Frost. It is very simple and easy. This poem contains some natural elements like a tree, snow, water, like that. You will like it while you read the poem, and this poem also deals with appreciation of nature. We all like nature, we all like rain, we all like snow, we all like water. These are all the elements in the poem. Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. This poem was written by Robert Frost. Frost was an American poet noted for his realistic description of rural life. He was born on 26 March 1874. He spent his first 40 years as an unknown entity. He received Pulitzer Prizes for poetry and was a special guest at President John F. Kennedy's inauguration. Robert Frost became a poetic force and the unofficial poet laureate of the United States. Some of his famous works are The Road Not Taken, West Running Brook, Mending Wall, After Apple Picking, and one more that Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. That is also a very special poem. This poem deals with appreciation of nature. See children, this poem contains 4 stanzas. Let me read the poetic lines very clearly. Follow the lines if you have the textbook, otherwise listen carefully. I'm going to read. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. Second stanza. My little hearts must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near. Between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. Third. I'm going to read third stanza. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. Last, the fourth stanza. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep and miles to go before I sleep. Here, woods means trees. One day on a snowy evening, a traveler traveled through the forest with his horse, where the trees are looking magnificent. Magnificent means beauty. The woods are magnificent. Suddenly he stopped there. He felt that someone asked him to stop. Actually, he was stopped by the woods because the woods are so lovely and beautiful, right? And one more that it was a evening and snow-covered land. On looking this beautiful place, he stopped there with his horse. Let me explain the first stanza. Look at the lines. Whose woods these are, I think I know. It means at the beginning itself, the traveler decided that the woods belongs to someone. And not only that, see the second line. His house is in the village though. How would traveler know the owner of the woods would live in the village? He confirmed for himself the owner's house in the village. Next, we move on to the third and fourth line. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. The traveler wanted to feel and enjoy the moment, so he said that the owner won't come and he won't disturb the traveler. The traveler wanted to spend some time, some quality time at night in the forest. See, the traveler was attracted by the woods and he did not want any disturbances over there. Children, do you understand the first stanza? I'll tell you once again in short. The traveler traveled through the forest, and he was stopped there and thought that the owner would live in the village and the owner won't come into the woods to make any disturbances while the traveler was enjoying the moment. Okay, next, shall we move on to the second stanza? Yes, I'll read the lines. My little hearts must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. Look at the first line. My little hearts must think it queer. It will be very strange to the hearts too. The hearts might think, why did his master stop there without any farmhouse or any horse stable? While travel a long distance, the hearts must be tired, right? And hearts also wanted to take some rest, But here everything is strange, unusual. There is no farmhouse, there is no grass, no horse stable. And the traveler thought the hearts will think, why did the master stop in the woods near the lake where the water frozen? The water in the lake frozen and snow covered like a mist. Because his master usually didn't stop in the forest near frozen lake, and Horse was worried about his master and his health. The master and Horse were good friends. It was very strange to the Horse to stop in the middle of the woods because his master means the traveler, never did this before. Next line, the darkest evening. I think the fourth line, the darkest evening of the year. The darkest evening of the year means it was the longest night of the year. This line has some special explanation. The winter takes 24 hours when the northern hemisphere has the shortest amount of daylight for the year and the longest amount of darkness, so that it would be the darkest evening, right? That evening the traveler traveled through the forest. Next we move on to the third stanza. I'm going to read the third stanza. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sound the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. He gives means the horse. When the traveler stopped there in the middle of the forest, Horse shook his bell. Do you know why? Do you have any pet animals at home? If you spend some quality time with them, they'll be very close to you, right? Obviously, they understand if you're in danger. Likewise, the horse here shook his bell to ask, was there any danger to his master? What an understanding between them. The deep forest, the dense forest with woods became so silent except the wind. The wind blew mildly and snowflakes blew by the easy winds. Just imagine, children, when you were in the scene, how would you feel? Isn't it amazing? Yeah, that is what the moment the traveler enjoyed. I'll read the third stanza once again. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sound the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. Next, shall we move on to the last stanza, the special words. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. This line, it's a wonderful line, ma. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. At last, this last stanza has a very special and deep meaning and tells the character of the poet. It is very clear that the poet finds the forest very attractive and wants to spend some time there. And he admires the surroundings, but he has some work to complete and promises to keep. If our parents give some work to do, what will we do? Of course, we will do the work, right? If you promise to someone, won't you keep? Definitely, you will keep the promises, right? Likewise, the poet also has promises to keep, that promises he made to his loved ones and himself too. This clearly shows that the poet, the traveler, he is so focused and professional. The narrator in the sense, the traveler. The traveler ends the poem with the last two lines which has a deep meaning. Look at the lines. And miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. Here sleep means death. He wants to go long and wants to keep the promise before he is going to die. See, the traveler wants to stay in the dark and deep forest, but he doesn't want to stay long time because he is very sure that human beings should appreciate nature and spend time with it and protect nature. Do you all understand the poem, children? Overall, the poem expresses the concept that one must concentrate on fulfilling his promises and accomplishing his duties without being distracted by the pleasures of life. Let me revise it in short. A traveler traveled through the forest and stopped there and decided himself that he knows the owner of the woods and where he has been living. In the village, and thought that the owner won't mind that the traveler watching the woods in the middle of the forest. Next, the horse worried about his master why he had stopped in the forest without any farmhouse to take rest, but only the woods and frozen lake. Horse shook his bell to ask there was any danger. The winds blew smoothly and snowflakes spread over there. While enjoying and appreciating the nature, he suddenly remembers that he has promises to keep, works to complete, and wants to explore the world before he is going to die. Do you like the poem, children? In our life also, we have some promises to keep and responsibilities to do. I hope you will do your duty very consciously. This is your memory poem, children. Read the poem very well. Let me explain the new words in the poem. First one, woods. Woods, I already told woods means trees. Next, queer. Queer means curious, very curious, strange, something unusual. Here, the R's, the word cure connected to the hearts because suddenly the master stopped, that was very cure to the hearts. It means strange, unusual. And frozen. Frozen, cold, unmelted, unmoving. And finally, one more word, harness. What is harness? Harness, just like belt, you might have seen in the horse's neck like a leather strap so that it can be attached to and pull the horse or cart. Let me read the poem once again. What is the poem's title? Stopping by Birds on a Snowy Evening. Who is the poet? Robert Frost. Now we'll read the lines. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little hearts must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near. Between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sound the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. This is your memory poem, children. This is your first memory poem. Read the lines very clearly by heart it. Let me check, okay? I'll ask some questions whether you understood or right. What was the poet's name? The poet's name is Robert Frost. Where did they stop? They stopped in the middle of the forest. How did the lake look? The lake looked frozen. What is meant by sleep? Sleep means death. Do you like the poem, children? Yes, read the poem and enjoy. Thank you. We will see next.